Welcome back to the 128 KB podcast. We are back once again.
Oh, due to lack of popular demand.
Yes, and that demand is so lacking that I managed to say it correctly this week.
It almost slipped.
Oh, yeah, it's a difficult one to
It
say.
is. I struggle saying it. Every time it comes to me to say it, I'm like, oh, am I going to say it right?
Yes, this is your weekly dose of all things gaming.
Yes, it is.
And this week we are going to moan about some more gaming problems.
Yes.
And we're really positive normally.
Yeah, I think we are, though, generally. Like, we go into it thinking that we're a moany couple of old gamers.
Moany old couple.
But then it ends up being positive.
How are you liking the new camera setup?
Oh, I love it.
Multiple cameras.
I love it.
Switchy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I thought I'd headbutt the microphone.
Yeah, I like that.
thought I would jazz it up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, you did that last week as well, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's like,
Only
now,
addressing
how are
it
you
now.
liking it now?
Oh, yeah,
So
I
it's
love
like
it.
look back.
Yeah.
That's not a window into how we film these at all.
I love it. But what about you, viewers? What do you think of the freeway going on here?
It is a bit of a three-way.
Yes.
So, Andy, I wanted to pose to you this week
Yeah.
something we've touched upon before, I'm sure.
Yes.
But it's an emotion I had from, are you ready for it?
Yes.
It's the 128 KB bingo card time.
Oh!
After playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I was left with an overriding emotion.
Yes.
Firstly, that was of sadness due to the story
Yes.
and knowing it's going to be another 4 years or something until I get to
the
see
next
the ending.
one. Yeah.
That's annoying. But no, what I wanted to address this week is the problem of big games.
Yes.
Primarily open world
Ooh.
and RPG fatigue. I say RPG because primarily we see these big open worlds in role-playing games.
Yeah.
And that's where I tend to experience them anyway, because that's the types of games I'm most drawn to,
Yeah.
I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But open world problems. When I was playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, second mention today. That's right. If you got 2 minutes and 30 seconds, then you win. It's so big, it's daunting.
Yes, absolutely.
It's such a big undertaking. It's scary enough to put me off.
Yeah. I've got dread about that too, because I've not even started it yet, and I know I'm going to borrow your copy and play it. I have that same feeling of like, oh man, I don't know if I want to get into this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's that weird like...
It's the biggest RPG world I've ever played in.
Wow.
It's probably one of the best games I've ever played as well. It's definitely
Nice.
up there in like the top 5 list.
Was that purely for the rolling up hills mechanic, you know?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. God, that's annoying, actually. No, so Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is an open zone, open world game.
Yeah.
So you are stuck inside, well, essentially like country-sized land masses.
Areas, yeah.
And as the story progresses, it pushes you through these different areas. And then when you get to like the final chapters and you've seen all of the areas, then you can traverse through them all.
Yes.
You get different traveling mechanics.
Yeah. It's kind of like how Xenoblade is. You've got massive areas and you go through them, and then later you can go back and forth and stuff.
And when it is all opened up, marvelously, I think this uses Unreal 4, they've developed it in.
Yeah.
Everything is open at the same time.
Yes.
So it's like, it takes advantage of PlayStation 5's quick loading.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's not really the point I want to dwell on, because yes, it's a technical marvel that is as big as it is.
Yes.
But I'm not sure just flexing a technical marvel is enough to make a game good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So the first area is the grasslands outside a city called Calm. And that's the first 2 chapters you're there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Final Fantasy VII nerd time, I'm going to 100% every area.
Yeah.
And I spent close to 20 hours in this area.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, just doing it all. And I kind of assumed maybe it's all not this big.
Yes,
maybe they're just they're flexing right at the start.
The start is the big one, and then there's like smaller areas after that.
And bear in mind, from the very get-go, you're given a chocobo to traverse.
Really? You don't have to like unlock that like
it's really
later.
quickly.
Really,
like within the first few hours, you tame your first chocobo,
and that's because the world is so big. You're gonna need it.
You do.
Yes.
So you've already got a traveling mechanic, like a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And these get better and different abilities, and then you have different vehicles later on. So you've got ways of traversing these huge areas, and it's not like they're huge and there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
They're densely packed with encounters, with combat, with unlockables, with different side quests.
Yes.
So literally, I spent 20 hours, and 20 hours of awesome, amazing time.
Yeah, had a great time. Yeah,
had an amazing time.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I really want to progress the story.
Yeah, as you do.
Because really, that's why I love this game, is the story.
Yeah.
So then I progress through, and I've unlocked 100% of this area. I go through this like couple of hours of story, some boss fights and stuff, and it's like really high action.
Yeah. You're
really
well into
condensed.
it. Yeah.
And very corridor. It's like pushing you through. It's like, yes, I'm into this. This is amazing. You then get spat out into the next big area, which is Junyuan Harbour. And in the original game, Junyuan Harbour's a little speck on a map. It's a footnote in the story. You're there for maybe an hour at most.
Yeah.
In Rebirth,
you're there for ages.
it's the same size as the first part.
20 hours one.
And it's amazing. There's this whole area that didn't exist in the original game. There's like a pirate harbour that's all been like messed up, and there's all these half-sunken ships and stuff.
Yeah.
It's huge. And I sat there and I was like, I started to 100% it again. I'm like, then I started thinking forward.
That's when the dread set in.
That's when the dread set in. I was like, I know how big this game is, because obviously I remember the original. I've played the original probably 4 or 5 times. I know how big this game's going to be now. I don't think I've got the stomach
to do it again.
To do it all again and again and again. And it's going to be the same when I get to Costa del Sol and the New Continent, and then Gungaga and all these areas. Nibelheim. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can... It's dread. It's the feeling of dread.
Yeah.
And really, the moments, the beats of the story are so much fun.
Yes.
And so...
You just want to follow that.
Yeah. They do it so well.
Yeah.
So then I found myself playing one of the biggest games made in the last 5 years, in the most corridor fashion possible, and I was just steaming to the end.
Just made it linear for yourself.
Made it linear for yourself.
And that's what I did with Remake. I know Remake is not open world. It is very linear. But there's still all these side quests to do. There's all these extra things you can go and do. And I'm like, nah, like I'm just doing story only. I'm not doing any side quests. I am just going story. And like every time I got to a section, like Barrett's like, but there's people we should be going and helping over here. You sure you want to leave? I'm like, kill them all. I'm off. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't care. Are you sure you want to go? It gives you like multiple menus. Are you really sure that you want to go? I'm like, yes, just let me go forward, man. Like, I just want to play the story.
I was cherry picking the bits that I liked. So like there was a mini game that I really enjoyed, the card game, Queensborough.
Oh yeah, the one that everyone hates.
Everyone hates. I don't know why. It's so good, man. So every area I'd go to, it shows you all the people you can play, and you level up.
Yeah.
You can only play certain people when you get to certain levels. So I'd always find them all.
No, nice.
And play them all and beat them all.
Yeah.
And it gets really hard and it gets really techie as you get further and further on. And that was literally it. I was just doing that and then going to the story.
Yeah.
And I wasn't wrong. Each area, which in the original game is this like, there's just this one town.
Yeah.
Is this whole continent-sized open world.
Massive thing.
Place called Cosmo Canyon. And it's giant. It's huge. There's Nibelheim, which is in the original game, just a town in the mountains. It's huge. A whole continent to explore. And I think this game is 150 hours, 200 hours.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it all, if you're going to completionist it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And every time I got to a new area, I felt dread.
Yeah.
And I felt guilt then.
Of not doing all the rest.
Doing all the stuff. It's like, this game has been so perfectly crafted that all these things are there to enjoy.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do any of it.
Why am I playing this?
Honestly, it was like so kind of self-mutilation. It was like masochistic. I was like, I don't want to.
Yeah, you've made this.
But
I don't want to experience it. Yeah.
What's that thing up there that's flying? I don't care.
Yeah. I didn't see it. Ignore it.
You get to this area called Nibelheim.
Yeah.
And they've made it massive. And I'm like, oh, Christ, okay. And you can, there's a different type of chocobo there that can fly.
Okay.
Which is amazing. And you see all these things like floating in the sky and stuff, like a Sonic game or something. You're like, oh, wow, I'm not going up there ever.
I'm not going to find out what that is.
And like Cosmo Canyon, you go there. And it's this like observatory. So it's built on top of a mountain, but in this kind of like desert-like landscapes. There's all this. It looks like the Grand Canyon underneath you.
Yeah.
And because everything's loaded all the time in that game, even when you're at the top of the mountain, you can see everything happening underneath you. There's all these things and like creatures moving around and stuff. And like, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah. Nope.
Straight onto the story, please.
Yeah.
So I was left feeling guilty, overwhelmed, and a sense of dread about the whole thing. Once I'd completed the game, obviously I can go back. I can select a chapter and I can go back anywhere at any point.
Yes.
Do you know the overriding emotion I have?
Nope.
I don't want to.
Yeah,
That it's
I'm not
scary.
gonna do this.
It's too big. There's too much to do. I go on like Twitter or I watch YouTube videos because I still love the game and everything about it. And I realised that I've missed
so much stuff.
There's entire mechanics of the game I've missed.
Yeah.
There's mini games I didn't even realise existed.
Yeah.
Parts of the story that happen in side quests.
Yeah.
Nah.
But that's the same with me. I feel exactly the same way. Like when I'm going to start a game that I know is going to be like that, I'm already starting the game on a back foot.
Yeah.
That I almost don't want to play it
like
because
anxious about it.
I get like anxiety, and that's why I've always said like on this show and everything for so long, I prefer linear games.
Yeah.
I really do, because that same feeling I get, and especially if it's something as storyline intensive as Final Fantasy, like, because I'm a contradiction again. Like I would say I don't like turn-based, but I'll play Pokemon, you know, and I say I don't like open world games, but I've played MMOs, which have always been open world for years, you know, and I've spent thousands of hours playing them. However, generally with MMOs and stuff, you ain't playing for a story.
No.
Most of the time, there isn't one.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's get good and either play other players or take out bosses.
Yeah, it's dungeon
with
bashing
other people.
Stuff, isn't it?
Exactly. So with those kind of things, I'm totally cool with, because I know there's no overriding objective other than get good.
Yeah.
You know, but if Final Fantasy, I know there's this storyline, like you said, that if you cut out everything else, you've probably got a 30-hour story.
Yes.
Which is going to be so well told, you know, and you're going to be so immersed into it. That I'm like, well, if I start doing this over here, I'm then going to get sidetracked.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to get really sidetracked. And then I'm probably going to put the game down and not play it, which is exactly what happened to me with Zelda. You know,
great example.
So Breath of the Wild blew my mind when it came out. Like, and I remember running it obviously the first time that Switch came out. You know, it was so overwhelmingly like, yes. And I've always been in the past like a completionist.
Yeah.
I've got to do everything.
Yeah.
I've got to find all the secrets.
Oh, there's two ways to go. I'm going to go both.
I was just about to say, that looks like the main way. Let's turn around and go the way I shouldn't go. And I would do everything I can to get around that. Whereas now I'm kind of not like that, you know, but I was with Zelda. I did everything else I could first.
Do you think
and then kind of went, ooh,
is it just a time thing?
I think it might be.
Is it like a fear of like, I'm going to spend too much time playing this?
Yeah, maybe.
And there's loads of other things I want to play.
And there's so many games now, that are out that I want to play too, and I don't want to miss them.
Because I don't think... Firstly, I don't think we're alone, but I do know that there is the opposite opinion to this, which is just as valid.
Yeah.
But I've seen it in like regulars that turn up when I was streaming and stuff, and some of them would have turned up when I'd start playing Starfield.
Yes.
And I tried to do like completionist mode on Starfield. I was like, I'll do as much as I can on the first playthrough.
Yes.
And that game's designed to be replayed loads of times. Yeah. There's people now that will turn up in our streams that are still playing Starfield.
Yeah, the same game.
They're like New Game 7 or something.
Yeah.
Because they want to see this mission, but in a different playing out in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I haven't got that. The thought of going back into Starfield now for me, I'm like, nah, I've already done too much of it.
Yeah, and see what I was saying, which happened to Zelda, happened to Starfield.
Yeah,
I started Starfield. I went, main storyline? Nope.
Yeah.
So I just went fully into the side quests. I spent like 70 hours just doing random stuff until you said, you know what, you really should play the story because there's like a key mechanic you don't even have yet, and you're like nearly 100 hours in, you know, and I'm like, what? And then obviously I played like a bit of the main story and went, oh, okay, I've got this thing now.
These abilities.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, and then I kind of put the game down, that was it.
Yeah.
And walked away. Do you know what I mean? I've not played it since. And
the problem with...
It's weird.
Because it primarily happens in RPGs, not exclusively, obviously, but primarily this big world problems an RPG thing. And the problem with these huge AAA RPGs is that the main storyline is so good, almost always.
Yeah.
That not just the story that's playing out, but how they do the big set pieces.
Yeah.
The environments that will traverse you through purposefully, like lead you like it's a linear game.
Yes.
And then you've got boss fights or like sub bosses, like dungeon bosses, and so like whatever it is, it's taking you through the very best bits of the game.
Yes, yeah.
It's like the icing on the cake.
Yes, yeah.
And now I've eaten all the icing
gratification.
off. Now I've got the sponge bit left.
Yeah.
That's not as good as me. It's still good, but it's not as good as the icing.
Yeah, you want to get straight to that, don't you? Yeah.
So the problem is, Zelda's a great example of it. Final Fantasy VII, specifically Rebirth's a really good example of it. The main parts are so good that I just want to get to that every time.
Yes, yeah. And it's not like the other stuff's filler.
No.
Like, it's still fun.
Amazing.
But there's so much of it, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And you're like, actually, I think I'll just stick to the main bit, you know? And that was, again, with the Zelda thing, I had so much fun just doing random stuff, like, because I felt like I had to, because I didn't want to miss anything, that I then neglected the main storyline. And I spent so many hours doing that I eventually ended up putting it down because I wanted to play something else that come out or whatever. And then slowly, I just stepped away from it to the point where now if I go back, I ain't got a clue what I'm doing.
There's no way you'd have to start again.
Exactly.
There's no way you could go back
halfway through or whatever, like halfway through the main storyline, but I've spent like hundreds of hours in the game, but I haven't got a clue with what I was doing, how you even play the game anymore, where I'm meant to go, what I'm meant to do. You know, at least with a linear game, because they're all like corridored, like you said, you can come back like a year later, 2 years later, or whatever, you go forward. Yeah. It's not hard. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to miss much. Like, there's always going to be spin-offs. And I think this is where Alan Wake 2 just did it beautifully.
Yes.
Because it's possibly the best game I've ever played. Like, it is right up there. Like, fantastic, phenomenal game. Because it is linear, but there's like open areas that are not too big that you get this dread that like you see as you're going around it, like, actually this is a relatively confined area. So I can 100% it.
Yeah.
And I had such a good time because it's all interlinked to the story anyway. Stuff that happens seems to be as if they wanted you to do it that way anyway, even if you did it in a different way than I did it. Like, you know, it's so well confined and like it's a beautiful mix of, it's nowhere near open world. It's not. It is linear, but there's still open areas. But for me, that was how I enjoyed it the most. And I was so captivated because there was such a heavy focus on the story that everything else made sense to it. It wasn't so far removed. Do you know what I mean? It was really good. And again, that's what I'm looking forward to with Stellar Blade.
Stellar Blade's going to, really good example of a linear action kind of role-playing type game.
Yeah, and why I love Bayonetta and stuff like that. They're all very linear.
There's a common theme between those two.
Oh, there is, yeah.
Between Bayonetta and Stellar Blade.
They like fight. That's what it is. That's it.
Female protagonists fighting.
Yes. Yeah,
looking fit.
Yes. Yes.
That's just a bonus.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's an added icing on the cake. You know, you're saying you'd like the icing?
Yeah,
those
just
games
the icing.
is the whole icing. Yeah. No, but seriously, I saw people after the demo came out for Stellar Blade, like, other than the fact of the way main character looks, people were like, but it's linear, like blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's what I want about this. Yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to because I can actually enjoy myself. And if I have to put it down because I want to play something else, I know I can come back and keep playing and not have to start again. And that's the thing is the dread of these big open world games. If I think I'm going to leave and then think I'm going to have to start again, I don't even want to start it in the first place because I'm not going to start it again in the future. You know? Yeah. So I think I would have done what you did with Final Fantasy of do a bit and then gone, nah, and then just main storylined it. That's what I totally did. I won't forget the feeling when we got to the Junior Harbour section and it was the same emotion with every new area. And I can't even think how many there is, like 8 or 9 of these big areas. Every time I was like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't want to do this.
I don't know. And you open up the map and you're like, I've got to zoom out.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. And there's all these points of interest that are popping up. I'll give them credit, man. It's rammed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of open world games that you'll play that there's big expanses of nothing. Starfield is incredibly guilty of that.
Yeah.
Big expanses of nothing. And you're like, oh, I've got to go over there. Well, it's like a 5-minute walk in game time.
Yeah.
So I'm walking there and nothing's going to happen in between. I'm not going to get distracted by things.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's a bit boring.
Yeah.
Might as well just fast travel.
Yeah.
It's crammed. Final Fantasy VII was crammed with stuff to do. I would just say there's probably like 30% too much stuff.
Yeah.
Too big.
Yeah, it's just a bit too much.
Just a bit too. And that's a really crazy criticism to level at something.
Yeah.
But
I get you.
It just relit that fire of like, I don't know how much I genuinely like open world games.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same. And it's weird because I love Metroidvanias, and some of these maps in these games, man, when you like get a Metroidvania and pull out, they are so expansive, and you know you ain't going to be able to go everywhere until you've got an ability later.
But they don't cripple you with choice.
No, but also because it's generally 2D,
Yeah.
you know, it's like a platforming thing.
Yeah.
You don't feel so overwhelmed. I go left, I go right.
Yeah. Up or down.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I don't get that same dread.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Good pun that.
Yeah, it is.
You don't get that dread.
I don't get that Metroid dread. But I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Like again with Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, like that. Like you pull out the map's massive, you know, and you unlock more as you go, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But I'm loving it, and I'm not getting this dread. I'm like, I can't wait to get there.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was like a 3D open world, I'd be like, like I don't know why.
Yeah,
like, it's just weird. I don't even know myself why I don't like it.
I think it starts with, I have the completionist in me always. So I always, and I've joked about it before, but I always start in the same way. I'm going to 100% this game, and I'm definitely going to do it, and I'll go all the ways I'm not supposed to go. When it's when it's a corridor game, when it's linear, there's usually a maximum of 4 choices.
Yeah. It's easy to do that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I'm not crippled by choice, and I'm not going to be distracted on the way too much.
Yeah.
When you've got the whole 360 degrees and sometimes traversing up and down as well, in the water, underground.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I like the freedom,
Yes.
but the freedom wears off real quickly.
Yes.
And I know the best bits are at that point of interest that's been highlighted on my map.
Yeah, the main mission.
We're just going to go straight there.
I'm going to go there, yeah.
There's one area, it's called Gungaga. It's where Zack was born from Crisis Core.
Okay. Wow.
It's his home village.
Yeah.
And there's a reactor there that's gone crazy, and you have to get there really quickly because you can hear stuff happening. It's kind of near the town.
Yeah.
You're obviously supposed to explore on the way, and there's all these points of interest and stuff happening.
Nah.
I was like, nope, going there.
Yeah.
Because you could like traverse kind of by bouncing off stuff, and I was like, no, I'm just going straight there.
Yeah.
Flew straight there, ignored everything, and I was like, do you know what? I'm totally all right with this now.
Yeah, it's just so strange, isn't it? Like, I definitely think I prefer linear games, like corridor style stuff to an extent. You know, they can be open like Alan Wake to, you know, that kind of thing. But I think it's just these huge RPGs, because Alan Wake is a short game. Like, I 100%ed it, I think, in 25 hours, maybe 30 hours or something like that. That's short. You know, you try and 100% Final Fantasy Rebirth, you're talking like 200 hours.
Yes.
You know, and it's that I think makes me go, ooh, you know, like same with, I love the Xenoblade games, but I haven't played 2 or 3. I've got them, you know, but I haven't played them because I get that dread of, I don't want to start this because they're too big.
Yeah.
You know, I know that they're like 300-hour games.
And I don't know, it's not, this isn't a objective opinion. This is subjective for certain.
Yeah.
This is just how I feel right now. And I know you feel the same.
Yeah.
When I think back, Final Fantasy, because it's so fresh and it's in the bingo card, to 100% Final Fantasy 7 the original was like 100 hours.
Yeah.
If you wanted to unlock everything, and
that's
you
why
wanted
I
to,
just flew past.
Yeah, if you wanted to do all the ultimate weapons and stuff and limit breaks, it was like 100 odd hours, and I'd done it a couple of times. Same with Final Fantasy 8. So Final Fantasy games are supposed to be that epic and big,
massive thing,
huge undertakings. So they've done the right thing. I just don't think I'm there anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think for me as well, like you said, I think because there's so many other games, like when I was younger, I'd have the game that I bought, you know, and that was it for however long until I could afford another one.
Very good point.
Or that was it until something I liked to come out again. Yeah. So I would just smash it. You know, I'd spend so long playing Oblivion or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I'd just be going around doing stuff for no reason. You know, I wouldn't even have a reason. And I suppose I used to do that with Grand Theft Auto when I was younger. You just spend,
is a really good example.
You spend so much time just jumping cars off of ledges or whatever you do, you know. Yeah. And I had so much fun doing all that. Whereas now I think I'm more aware of all these games that are coming out, obviously, because of what we do as well. I'm like, I want to try that. I want to try that. I want to play this. I want to play that. Oh, that's coming out next week. Oh, this. And I'm like in my phone calendar, like writing all these like, notifications of when games are coming out and stuff that I want to see or whatever. And that I feel like such a huge undertaking of getting into like Rebirth, and committing that time to it. So I know I'm going to miss so much other things. Yeah. And I think that's the thing. I think for some people out there that are still how I was when I was younger, that will just have that one game and they'll be more than happy to spend all their time in it, which I know, like, again, bringing up Xenoblade, I know people that love those games, that's all they do. Yeah. They just play Xenoblade or just play Final Fantasy or whatever it might be.
Starfield,
like, that's great. And I totally get it. And I think I was like that. But I don't think I'm like that anymore. I think I do prefer linear games now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how it's changed, isn't it?
It's weird.
It was when you said Grand Theft Auto, it really triggered something in me. How much I used to love open world games.
Yeah, me too.
Red Dead.
Yeah, but I think back then as well, they were new because of hardware capabilities.
Yeah, that's true.
So, like, when someone said open world, everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's going to be the biggest game anyone's ever made."
Yeah, you can go anywhere you want.
And it was new because we were used to all these non-open world games. There was only linear games because of the technological like constraints. Whereas now it's so easy to do an open world because the PCs are so powerful, the consoles are so powerful, they can handle it well. Yeah. Especially, like you're saying, using the SSD and stuff on the PlayStation 5. Yeah. Console players can experience PC level of open world, and that's phenomenal. But now I don't know if it's worn off on me. Do you know what I mean? I'm like...
I think the novelty has worn off. And I get... I kind of... crippled by the too many, like, indecision from the decisions.
There's
too many decisions for me to make. I kind of want my hand held a little bit.
Yeah, information overload. Like,
certainly is. And a fear, almost like a fear of exploring too much. Like, I've got to go all the way up there.
Yes,
and I know it's going to show me loads of other stuff.
I
don't know if I can. Don't know if I can stomach it.
Yes, I totally get you.
But there's as a Rebirth, there's whole areas of that game I didn't even see.
But that's the same with loads of games I've played. I've still not even finished Zelda Breath of the Wild, because I just can't bring myself to start it again. I just can't, And I think I'd rather choose... I find open world games of the past got boring. I don't say that's the case now because stuff like Rebirth
is same for all games. When you said Grand Theft Auto, it's just made me think about it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is it the same for all games? Because I'll just say this, Red Dead Redemption 2, I never once had that feeling.
Yes. Yeah, no, I get you. But they did such a good job of making
building the world,
feel like everything was real. Like every NPC had a life and a there was something else about that. I can't really say myself because I watched the entirety of Red Dead because Christina played. Okay. So she played it. I obviously said, "Oh, go over there, do that, or do this, or maybe focus on this." But she played the game how she wanted to play, and I watched the entirety of it, and I thought it was brilliant. You know, but because I wasn't playing, I wasn't having to make some of these choices of, "Oh, I will go and do that quest," or "No, I want to focus on story," or whatever. She was more, "I want to experience everything." So she did the classic, let's leave the main line and do everything I can until there's nothing more I can do until I have to move on. Yeah. So she loved that. And I watched 90% of it. Sometimes I'd be like, "You're taking too long doing this achievement or something." I'm like, I can't be bothered. Do you know what I mean? So
hunting that wild
animal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was just like, me. But I don't know.
That was a world. That is a world that I didn't feel this dread at all in, and
I've never felt it in GTA either.
Yeah, yeah. So Rockstar do something really interesting with their world building that makes it interesting, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Every NPC, every interaction, every corner feels like it has consequence of some kind.
Yes. Yeah.
And the amount of density of things seems just right for random encounters or side quests that will open up. they've just built a really living, breathing world.
So maybe it's game specific. I mean,
but it's also, I think, it's a balance of emotions as well.
Yeah.
One thing that Rockstar do really clever with their open worlds is they balance comedy with drama perfectly.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it's all tongue in cheek, isn't it?
The player gets to decide which level of the scales they're going to sit on with that balance of emotions. Yeah. Are you going to play this really seriously? Yeah, I'm playing this really seriously right now until something wrong happens, and then it's hilarious, and I'm going to go full comedy mad on it.
Yeah, and then go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm going to hog-tie this person, and I'm going to leave them for a crocodile.
Yeah.
Like, you constantly can shift that.
Yes.
Games like Zelda and like Final Fantasy, Starfield don't have that.
Yeah.
Don't have that, like, I can seesaw the tone of this game to my liking.
I think you can in Tears of the Kingdom, where you can build stuff and you can do all this like you can get NPCs and like put them on stuff and like send them off into the water and whatever. Like there's quite a lot of funny stuff that can be had like done. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to say about GTA because I haven't played GTA 5 since it was on Xbox 360.
10 years ago.
Literally,
like 10 years.
I looked through my achievements on my Xbox account the other day and I scrolled all the way back and I was like, GTA 5 on Xbox 360. So I didn't even realise it was on Xbox 360. I thought it was on Xbox One, but nope. No, it's on 360.
Yeah. I had it on PS3.
I had it on PS3 as well.
PS4.
Yeah.
I played it through on both. But and I've picked up occasionally to play it, not in the past couple of years, but fairly recently. The world is fun to be in.
Yeah, because anything's possible.
Anything's possible, and it doesn't have. Maybe it's the size as well.
Maybe
it's not. It's big.
Yeah,
but it's not
as big.
Not as big. It's not daunting.
Yeah.
I never had that sense of dread in any of those.
No, I'd never remember having those feelings, and I don't know when those feelings began. Like, I don't know what game because it must have stemmed from the first time I played a game. Because it can't have been that I just enjoyed everything and then one day went, actually, I didn't. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there must have been a pivotal turning point. But unfortunately, I have no idea when that started. It could have been Breath of the Wild. And it could have been that. And that might be why I'm halfway through the game, spent hundreds of hours in it, and then just gone, nah.
Yeah,
interesting. I'm not sure.
I think maybe it's more game dependent than I realised.
It could be, it could be. But for that reason, you would have thought, you being so much of a fan of Final Fantasy, that you would have been really pulled into this and be trying to find every single aspect of everything to do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if it is, or if it's actually you've got like nostalgia about GTA and Red Dead
because I haven't played them.
Because you haven't played them in a while. You know, I'm not sure. I just know for a fact that I definitely prefer the linear feeling, whether that be like 2D platformers or 3D like proper games, like Alan Wake or what Stellar Blade will be and Bayonetta and that kind of stuff, like, because it's very, you go forward and it's all combat focused and stuff, which I love, but also heavy storyline a lot of the time, and again, even like Bayonetta's got a really like long storyline, but it's all tongue in cheek. It's all quite funny, but there is still like serious undertones, whatever. Whereas Alan Wake's more of like a fully serious thing. Yeah,
you're like playing out a drama, aren't you?
But I suppose that's the reason why I love like horror games and stuff, is a lot of the time they are very story focused and you're just fully focusing on the story,
Yeah.
And that's why I love those I loved playing through all those Dark Pictures Chronicles or whatever they are.
They're basically like movies,
Yeah,
aren't
they basically are. All that kind of stuff.
Visual novels. Like.
All started with Fahrenheit by Quantum Dream, and all of their games, Heavy Rain, Beyond Good and Evil, the robot thing, which I can't remember the name. All of those games are so heavy storyline, and every action that you take has a consequence of how that game's going to end or the character survive or not. Those kind of games I really love, and I think that because they are so engrossing in story, when I go to these open worlds and then take myself out of the storyline, I'm lost,
Yeah. It's something about the pace. I'm just trying to really put my finger on it as you were talking. Like, it's something about the pace and the tone of when you're left to the open world part, which is why I'm always seeking out the story.
The story to pull you back on track.
Pull me back into the right tone.
Yeah, and that's what I think it is for me too. Like, because I love a good story and I love movies and stuff like that. When there's a game that really grips me, I just want to hold that story and keep finding out. It's like having the whole saying of you can't put the book down.
Yeah.
Because you're so engrossed in it. You want to know. It's that for me. I'm like, find a good game, so engrossed in that story, like Alan Wake 2. You know, I just want to know and I want to see what happens. So like you said, when you're out of that story and you're just faffing around, I just want to be back eating the icing.
Yeah, give me the icing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let us know in the comments what you guys think.
Yeah.
Like, are you team linear or are you all about the open worlds? Do you share our weird opinion? I don't know if it's a weird opinion, if we're alone in this
I don't
or not.
I don't know. I just find it funny that we're both the same. It's not like one of us has an opposing argument.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've both said this to each other and gone, no, we actually totally agree.
Totally agree.
So there must be others out there if we're like it.
I don't know. I mean, look at us.
I mean, we were grown in labs. So.
Hojo's Lab.
Yeah, Hojo's Lab.
Another Final Fantasy reference for you. That's great. If you got to the deep end with us and you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or wherever else you get podcasts these days,
give us a rating.
Podbean.
Flick the Podbean. Flick that bean.
Make sure that you wash and then rate the show because you're obviously sat in the toilet. Yes. I know what you're doing there.
Yes.
No, please do leave us a rating. 5 stars helps. And if you can, maybe share the podcast with someone you know that likes gaming and wants our company.
Everyone you know.
Maybe not everyone you know.
Everyone.
I don't think your grand's going to be that interested.
She might have a really good opinion on open worlds versus not. There's loads of granny streamers. Like
what?
Have you not noticed about this?
Have I not noticed it?
No,
I've
not
noticed it.
There's loads of like elderly people streaming and getting like followings and stuff.
Wow.
So share it with the granny if she's a streamer because she might be into gaming.
What kind of streaming are we talking about? Like the
not
hot
the kind
tubs,
you
the
watch.
hot tub streaming.
Not the kind you watch.
Oh right, okay.
They're like actually playing
like
games.
OnlyFans?
No, that's the different type of streaming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get you.
That's only grands, isn't it?
Free grands.
Yes. Yeah. That's the one you don't want to watch.
That's amazing.
You want to at least pay for it. Get the good stuff.
If you're on YouTube, I don't know what's happened.
I've no idea.
The buttons are below.
Buttons and things.
Hit them all. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about open world and linear games.
Memberships.
Final thing,
Yay.
memberships. Absolutely. Memberships are open. They give you early access to some of these videos.
Yes.
There's the occasional members only video as well. Like Only Grands.
Yeah.
Only less hot tubs.
Yes. Yeah.
And of course the Discord, which is where Andy likes to share pictures of his dog.
I do, yeah. I need to put some more in there actually.
Doggo pictures. And other stuff about gaming.
And if you'd like to buy an overpriced drinks bottle, you could do so below as well.
Or the Magic Mushroom Cup.
Yes.
As we were told in the comments the other day, why do I keep getting pop-ups for an overpriced drinks bottle? Blame me.
In case you're thirsty. There you go. It doesn't come with any water though, so.
Water not included.
Yeah.
So until the next time.
Bye.